Hello, fellow role players, and welcome to Roll Early Access. I'm Logan, the CEO here at Roll, and I want to thank you all once again for your continued patience and enthusiasm as we work hard to get these features into your hands. Once again, this is an early access build, so a lot of what you see today is incomplete, work in progress, and likely still requires a lot of testing. If you encounter any bugs, features that are missing, or things that you just want to know more about, please feel free to reach out to us at support@playroll.com. Now today, I want to show you a little bit of what you can do in early access so that you can dive in and start your next role-playing adventure with us. Let's take a look. Here we have your dashboard. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your time prepping for your games, managing your assets, managing your sheets, managing your tables. This is kind of your meta view of where all of your gaming content lives on Roll. You can see here I have my sheets, I have my assets, which currently only has one rulebook in it that I've uploaded myself, and I have some of my tables. I have a table I've created. I haven't joined any tables yet, but if I were to have joined a table somebody else created, it would show up here. Let's take a look at tables, shall we? Obviously, the most exciting piece of Roll is playing online with friends over high quality, premium audio and video. How do we do that? By creating a new table. You'll see up here in the top corner there's a new table button. There will also be a new table button under my tables if you haven't created any already. Let's make one here. When you're creating a new table, you can give it a name. You can optionally give it a password if you'd like for added security. We're going to leave that blank for now. And you can choose a starting game template. We have a few options here. Now, starting game templates pre-populate the table with character sheet templates based on that game. You can always leave it set to none, and if you do, it will leave the table open for players who join to use any templates that they wish. For now, let's leave it set to none. Now we've created our table. That simple. When your table's been created, you're going to still see the same information. Your table name, you can still add a password at any time. You can also change a password if you've already created one, and you'll receive an invite link here. This link is all you need for one of your friends to join you and play on Roll. You can copy this link, you can send it out to your group, and anybody who receives it can then join this specific table. If they don't already have an account on Roll, they can sign up to become a guest for free, even if they didn't back the Kickstarter or if they haven't received an early access invite yet. Let's jump in. You can also grab that table info later if you ever needed to by going back up here to the table menu and saying table info, and you can see it comes right back up. Now, this is what a fresh table looks like. We haven't actually joined the video call yet, but this is where it would live, right here in the middle. You can see over here on the side, I don't have any sheets yet on this table. Let's make one. I can give my sheet a name, I can upload an avatar picture, and I can choose what template I want to make the sheet from. Let's do, D&D. Let's say my character is named Skylar Crow. And we want to upload a picture. These are some pictures I was using for Lancer, but just for the sake of examples, let's use this again here. Click New Sheet, and here we go. So, my avatar is loaded here, the character name I've given is here, and you'll see here I have all of the information required for a standard 5th edition D&D sheet. You'll also see down here on the side, on the far left, our index system. Every single sheet is broken into sections. We have this section here, for example, that's called background, which has, basic background info about my character. But what if I want to go to my equipment, for example? I can go here on the index and I can click equipment and this will snap me right there. Or if I want to go to my abilities, snap me right there. You can use this index to very quickly navigate through long, complicated sheets where you have a lot of information to keep track of. That way you don't have to scroll forever looking for the information you need. You can just say, oh, I want character information, or, oh, where are my actions and attacks? Great. Let's go up to our saving throws. Abilities. Now, each of these fields can be filled in, right? So I can say, oh, I've got 14 strength, 15 dex, etc., etc. And you'll see also here, there's these other numbers here. This is for a dice buff. Right now, these dice buffs are set to 0. What if I want to add something else to them? Well, if I go to click on them, I can't edit them right now. They just open the dice roller. Because again, they're dice buffs, which would automatically get added to my roll. If I want to edit these and change the stats on my sheet for these, I can click this edit toggle up here. It's important to remember that if you ever encounter something on the sheet that you want to be able to edit but find you can't because it is interactive, whether it's a buff or a target number or something like that, you can just click this edit toggle and you'll see that they go into this gray state. The gray state means it is now editable. So let's go back down here to my strength and let's set my strength to 4 for the buff. If I turn the edit toggle off, you'll see now it says +4. Now this is great. Let's say I'm playing right now and the GM tells me I need to roll strength. Well, I can go up here to the top right. I can open my dice tray, check all these out here. I can roll, well, let's not do d12s, let's do a d20. I can roll a d20. And I can say, I want to add my strength to that. Look at that, d20 +4 because of my strength. Hit roll, 16 + 4, 20. That's a crit, that's awesome. You can of course add as many dice as you want to your roller. You could do things like 2d6s plus a d10 plus a d20. You can add this buff here. You can add this buff here. This one's a 0, so it's not going to show up, but you can activate as many buffs as you want. Some games obviously stack different types of modifiers and buffs on top of each other. And then you can roll. And you'll notice this one got a 6 out of 6 on a 6-sided die, and it gets a special treatment around the edge. This is so it's easier for you to keep track of high rolls. So on a 20-sided die, the 20 will always show up with a special rainbow border. Or on a 6-sided die, the 6 will show up with a special rainbow border. This is good for keeping track of crits in games like D&D. And there may be other uses in other games that you like to play. The other thing that's important about the dice roller is that sometimes you want this information to be private. Right now, this roll that I just did would be viewable by anybody at the table. They would see all the numbers I rolled, they'd see my results. That can be really fun and exciting for group play. But let's say that I want to do a die roll in secret. I can hit this private toggle and I could roll, and none of this information would show up to anybody else. This is great if you're GMing, or if you're a player doing your own private rolls, or if you're rolling against somebody else and you don't want them to see what you're doing yet. You can always toggle on and off the private toggle. In addition to dice rollers, there's also, of course, our card tools. So this is a deck that we can draw from. You can choose what kind of deck. Right now, we have the standard 52 and 54. 54 just adds jokers back into the deck. And you can change between viewing your own personal hand of cards and the table. Table cards are cards that anybody has drawn to the table, meaning anybody can see them. They belong to kind of the common space. And my hand is, well, my hand. So if I click on the deck, it's going to draw a card for me. Now, the cards are always drawn face down. If you see that, it doesn't mean the system's not working. We do this on purpose because cards face down, you may not want to reveal them right away. You click on the card again, and it flips over. Oh, look, Jack of Diamonds. If I want to put this card in the discard, I can click the little X in the corner, and it goes into the discard. Let's draw some more. Draw 2 cards this time. Also, besides clicking on the deck itself, if I click on this empty space, it will draw a card from the deck into that space. Let's flip these over. Nice, not bad. Let's put these into the discard. Now what's fun is the discard itself can also be drawn from. I can click on that and it'll pull one of the cards I had thrown back. Now we can switch to the table and you'll see there are no cards currently drawn on the table. You'll notice the discard pile still shows up though because the deck and the discard are persistent no matter what you're looking at. There's also this toggle here called Open Draw. The way that works is if you're the person who created the table, whoever is running this table, when you're in the table cards view, only you can control what happens here. You can only control cards being drawn, discarded, removed, etc., etc. But if you turn open draw on, that means that besides just their hands, any player can interact with the table cards and draw to them freely. So make sure you check that if you want anybody to be able to interact with the cards. There's also, of course, shuffling. Now, when you go to shuffle, there's a bunch of different check boxes you can check on and off. You may not want to shuffle every single card that's in the game back into the main deck. You may say, oh, I want to keep my hands out, so don't discard anybody's hands. You may say, I want to keep the table cards out, but I want to shuffle the discard pile and the deck back together. Now you'll notice the discard pile is gone, but if I go to my hand, the cards that I drew are still here. You can go through and you can check off various options to make sure that you're shuffling exactly what you want. And once again, this is only the beginning of what our offerings are going to be as far as cards go. We know that there are a lot of games that have more complex card mechanics that probably aren't quite covered here. So we really look forward to your feedback on what other useful card mechanics we can help support in the future. There will be more decks coming soon besides just the standard 52 and 54, including Tarot. Let's close that out. Minimize our dice tray. All right, now let's look at our asset tray, shall we? So down here at the bottom, you'll see assets. I can open this, and this is my asset tray. Currently it's empty. I haven't loaded any assets into this table. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, back on the dashboard, you definitely had an asset. You had a rule book. Well, assets that you have in your account aren't automatically added to tables, because we want you to be able to manage the specific assets each table has so that you're not overwhelmed and that you always have exactly the items you need. If you can click this plus sign here, you can add an asset to the table. This will allow you to either upload a fresh brand new asset, which will get added to this table and your main library, or I can say, I want to add something from my library. Let's click that. Hey, look, there's that rule book. If I click on it, these options come up. Let's say add to table. Now, this rulebook is in my asset tray at this specific table. This is only viewable by me though. Every single player at the table has their own asset tray where they can manage whatever assets that they want to upload, whatever they think is going to be useful for them. If I want to share this asset with the rest of the table, I can say make public. Now it's public. What's going to happen here is, now that I've made this asset public, nobody else can delete it or remove it from the table except for me, but this asset will show up in every other player's asset tray at this table so that they can see it. This is once again great if you're sharing references with other players that you want them to be able to pull up at will. I can also make it private again. Let's keep it public for now. Okay, so with a PDF like this one, your options are basically just view it in a new window because PDFs are large and you don't want to necessarily have that cluttering up your video. You can also, of course, remove it from the table if you needed to. But what about other things? What about maps, tokens? Let's look at that stuff. Now, I want to preface this by saying our maps and tokens view is still in its very early stages. And so there's a lot more coming that we want to work on. But we hope that what we have right now will be enough to get you off to the early stages of play. So let's say we're uploading an asset here. I can click Upload Asset. Now, you can't see it necessarily in the video, but I actually have a separate window open right now where I'm navigating to a file. So it's thinking for a second while it uploads this asset. There it is. So you'll see here, this is a hex map that I've made. Let's give this a name. Lancer map. I know we have a D&D sheet up, but this is a map that I actually made for playing Lancer. Now, you can upload assets of any type. They can be images, PDFs, etc. And they'll just automatically go up and they'll be usable. But if this is a map specifically, and when we say map, we mean something with a grid on it of some kind, whether it's a hex grid or a square grid, I'm going to want to check off this box. Is this asset a map or a token? Yes, it is. It's a map. When I click Add to my assets, it's going to think for a second. And then it's going to ask me, number of tiles, hex or square. The nice thing about this is you don't need to necessarily tell us whether or not it's a square grid or a hex grid. Our system will automatically figure that out based on the measurements of the asset. All you need to tell us is how many tiles in each direction this asset is. And when we talk about tiles in each direction, the expectation right now is that they go all the way edge to edge on the image. So if you have an image that only has like a few hexes in the middle and stuff, you may have to make adjustments or a guess as to how wide it would be total. This is important because this is how our system measures how big to draw tokens onto that map. Now I happen to know that this map is 34 hexes wide and 24 hexes tall. I've counted these. So when I say set map size, now this is in here. Now I can check this map out. I can say view privately. I can show it to the party, which means everybody in the video will see it. I can look at it in a new window. I can once again make it public or private. And if I didn't quite get the map size right, I can always go back in and edit the map size. But we need something to do on that map, don't we? We're going to need tokens. Well, we can go down here. And notice the token thing is already checked off. Let's grab a token that we want to play with. Let's grab some Lancer tokens, shall we? So you'll see here, I've got this little custom hex Lancer token I've made. Let's name it, I'm not that creative today, so boom boom is what it's going to be. We'll say add to my assets. Now, when you add a token to your assets, we're going to have you scale it so that our system knows how big to draw that token on any map. It doesn't matter what map you drop it on. We have grid examples that you can always check between, hex or square. You'll notice that when we do that, it changes your references here. So you can see, oh, if I was on a square map, this is how big this token would be. And I can move it around freely. I can line it up how I want. If I was on a hex map, this is how big this token would be. So it happens to be, I can make it look really big. I can make it small. I've got it pretty much exactly the size I want it. Make it a little tiny bit bigger. Look at that. Perfect. All right. So now that I've set my token scale, that token is here. All right. Let's say I wanted to look at this map. Let's say show party. Now we've got this map here. The map takes over the video. Down below, if we had a bunch of people on this video call with us, all the video thumbnails would show up and we would all be looking at the map large. Now you might be thinking, dang, this is really zoomed in. Well, I can zoom out. So now we're zoomed out a little bit more. That's better. We can do all sorts of fun things with these tools. We have all these great map tools down the right-hand side. We have a drawing tool. You can pick a few colors. Let's draw in blue. I can circle some things. I can put a cross out here. I can say, oh, there's a little thing here. I can also delete assets if I need to. And then I can also add tokens. Look at that. That's my token. Now what's great about the tokens, just like assets, any tokens that have been made public, anyone can add to the map. Any tokens that are private, only you can add to the map. So let's add this token to the map. There it is. And hey, look, it drew at exactly the right size because I had set the correct measurements for this map, 34 by 24, and I was able to scale this token in our token uploader to be the correct size. So now it always renders right on this map. I can drag that around, place it wherever I want. I can place more than one if I'd like to. Look at that, there's another one. I can delete this one if I want to. I can place another. You get the idea. And I can minimize this. Now, if you click minimize, this is what's interesting. It stays up as another video in the grid view. This is great because you might want to have that reference small on the screen at some times, but you might want to be able to see everybody's faces and enjoy the game. At any time, I can click on this again, and it makes it nice and big. I can say stop sharing, and now we go back to just the video view. You can manage your assets again anytime from in here. You can add and remove them. Let's say remove that from the table. You can add new ones. You can pull them from your library. Notice that even though I removed that token from the table, it's still here because when you upload a new asset, it gets added to your account library regardless. So if you accidentally delete something from a table, it's still there. It's in your library. You can always add it back. Let's close that up. Now, of course, the most important part of being able to play online is video and audio together. I've got my join video, join audio options. Let's make sure that I've got my camera and microphone set up correctly first though. Now, if this is your first time ever playing, you'll be shown this modal regardless. But if you ever need to find it again, you can go over to table menu, video settings. And here we go. Hey, that's me. Hey everybody. I can set my camera, I can set my microphone, I can test my audio levels. Looks like they're working great, and I can say confirm. Now, if I go to join video, there I am. And now my video and sound are on. If I want to, I can mute myself. If I want to, I can turn my video off, turn my video back on. If other people join the call, they'll show up here, just like any other video call service that you're used to. And you can see the quality is pretty high. Resolution remains high. Sound quality is going to remain high. You should have a pretty stable video experience. At any time I want to, I can also, of course, hang up. Now, the interesting thing about playing on roll with tables is it's not quite like other video services. When you hang up from a call, it doesn't close out this table. It doesn't close out this room. It just closes out you being on the video and audio portion. You'd still see other people here if they were on it. And you'd still be able to interact with assets and do whatever else you need to do. Additionally, if I were to walk away from this table, if I were to leave and say, oh, you know what, I want to go back to my dashboard, it doesn't get rid of the table. You'll see it's still here. And I can click play and be right back in it. And again, everything is persistent. Now let's go back to my dashboard real quick. So here on my dashboard, you'll see I've got these other characters here. I've got the one we just made. This is where I manage my sheets. So as you create more sheets at different tables, they're going to be shown in your actual dashboard view, your account view. That's because sheets aren't tied to a specific table. We can see which tables they're in. This one is currently in my Lancer test table. This one's in the Play Together table. They can be in more than one table. They can be removed from tables. Your sheets are yours to do with however you wish. Similarly, we can see all those assets. Look, there's the map I uploaded to the previous table. There's my token. I can add more assets to my library here if I want. This is a great place to prep for sessions. Let's go into my Lancer table real quick. And let's look at something really fun. Now, a game like Lancer uses more than one sheet because you have both a mech and a pilot. If I hover over this sheet real quick, oh look. There's my pilot. I've got all my pilot stuff in here. This is an early level character, so I don't have a lot of licenses, but I've got some good stuff. And I've got my mech sheet here. Let's snap back up to the frame. Look at my traits. Look at my systems. I can also add a new sheet. Now, this is all I need right now for this game, but if I wanted to, I could go here and I could say, oh, well, what if I have a second mech that I want to add a sheet for? Or what if I wanted to add a second pilot sheet? Or what if I wanted to add just a sheet for notes? Let's add a notes section, shall we? Let's call it battle info. So now I have a notes sheet, a nice generic sheet for just taking any notes I want. Got my battle info sheet, my mech sheet, my pilot sheet. And again, this table is set for Lancer. So you notice when I go into add new sheets, only Lancer relevant sheets show up. If this table didn't have a game set, all the different sheet templates would show up here. Additionally, I don't have to make a new sheet whenever I add a sheet. I can always pick from one of my existing ones. Now, granted, these are already in here, so I don't need to necessarily add them. But this is a good way to do it if you, say, have a Lancer character that you carry with you from campaign to campaign, and you want to join a new table and bring them in. Back to the dashboard for a moment. And of course, we can manage our sheets here. Like, let's get rid of this battle info sheet. I don't actually need it. I can say delete sheet. Now, it's really important that you make sure that you know you want to delete something when you do, because once I hit this button, it's gone from my account for good. That one's gone. Same thing is true for assets. Now, when we remove them from a table, they're still in my library. But now that I'm on my dashboard and in my library, if I were to go in here and say, delete this map, I'll get a confirmation modal here. And if I say delete, it's gone. It's no longer in my account, and it won't be at any tables that I've joined. That's all we have for now. There's a lot more coming in the very near future. And again, we're very excited that you're here to play with us, to help us test roll, and to help us refine our vision for what this product can be. We look forward to playing with you and hearing more about your adventures. Thanks, everybody.